Hello, welcome to Real Film Snobs. I'm Brian Michael, and today we have a special guest. We have Scott Hossner, who was
Thanks for having me.
you were on just recently with Angela.
Yep.
And Angela is not here, sadly. She is counting votes. So we hope she gets back real soon and enjoys that People magazine. So we're going to review some movies today. We've got some newer films. We have some older films, some Oscar-nominated films, a classic, and then a foreign film. So we got a little bit of everything. Before we get into it, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to go ahead and click that subscribe button as well as the little bell that'll notify you when we have a new episode. And every time you click that, then Steven Spielberg gets another $1 million. Well, he just makes money all the time. So our first film, you saw the clip at the top of the show, is for Boy Erased. And this is a film made by Joel Edgerton, a filmmaker and actor who I really enjoy and look forward to every new project that he is involved in, unless it's with Will Smith on Netflix. And this one tells a story about a young boy who is having homosexual thoughts. Comes out to his parents, and because their parents are very religious, played by Russell Crowe, who's a pastor in the film, and Nicole Kidman, I really like the chemistry between the two, and they seem like a real couple.
They could be a mother and father in every
I
film.
really think they really could.
Yep.
And they send him to a camp for reprogramming or to straighten him out. Haha. And what I really enjoyed about this film, and the young man, of course, that's Lucas Hedges, who I think is a fantastic actor who was in Manchester by the Sea, my favorite film, a few years back, or was it last year? And what I really enjoyed about this film was that it showed both sides. Now, I don't necessarily agree with what the parents did, but I understand that there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of hurt feelings. You see them, everyone trying to do what they can see is the right thing. They're coming from a religious background, and it's not just made fun of or thrown out when he comes to his other realizations, and there's a struggle that he has within this schooling or this camp. I like the fact that they respected both sides.
Yeah,
I thought that was really good.
Yeah, we have a mutual friend who's a fairly religious person who often likes to see a film like this, and the way, the goggles he sees it through is how do they treat the Christians in the film? Are they just caricatures, or are they, three-dimensional characters? And I agree, they did a wonderful job in this film making his mother and father not demons by any stretch, but sincere people with sincere beliefs, misplaced or misguided in what they ultimately put their son through. And there's some redemption in the end, but again, I agree, it's very even-handed. The chemistry between mother, father, and son was so
really
real.
Good, right?
Really real.
Gosh.
Lucas Hedges, not only Manchester by the Sea, but three billboards down from, and Lady Bird. I mean, he's made really great choices as a young actor and somebody we're going to be seeing for years to come. Really just, he takes challenging roles, and they're believable. And his inner turmoil, because he too is a sincere and a religious person. I would correct only one thing you said in your intro. He was really kind of outed more than he came out. And so he was in a real bind at the beginning of the film about whether to acknowledge that the outing was genuine. And the outing was so vicious, and what set that up was so hard to watch. He just did a masterful job owning that and feeling that, and that internalized homophobia that he had, I thought was really portrayed well in the film.
Yeah, I like the way he does a great acting without saying a lot of words. He has a lot of, I say the thing about Ryan Gosling, that there's a lot of inner workings. You can see him actually think and struggle with things. He doesn't always have to vocalize everything, and I really enjoyed that. Nicole Kidman, I thought I so love watching her in films. She's such a great actress with the right role and the right time, and Joel Edgerton does a really great job. As an actor, they kind of let the actors act, and sometimes they kind of go overboard or whichever. And with Russell Crowe, I thought, ooh, this could really do it. Certainly, especially when he goes up and preaches, I thought, oh no, here we go, and he doesn't. And when his son comes and tells him, I'm having these thoughts, he gives him this look that's. It's painful. He's hurt. He's confused. He's mad. He's angry. He has everything.
No words.
And none. Yeah. And he just kind of looks at him like, oh, okay. And you can see then he's kind of like, okay, we got to do something. We got to fix this. Well, we got to do this as a family. We're going to do this.
Similarly, in the denouement of the film, and I don't want to spoil it, there's a line where the son has a final kind of scene with his father that I just wish I had thought of.
Oh man, that was a great scene.
But that scene is, again, so underplayed, and he doesn't, the way that Russell Crowe responds or doesn't, is very.
That's your fancy watch. It's connected to everything.
It is
My goodness.
indeed.
Sorry, it
It's
still does
probably
that.
Mom calling. Sorry.
So I did really enjoy also as a Troye Sivan. I know that he's getting a lot of attention right now because of his singing, and he's a good actor. I've seen him in a few things. Here he is given a couple of scenes where they really pull up close on him, and he turns around and he gives some advice, and he gives the best advice. This kid knows his character knows what's going on. He knows how to get through this, and he just turns to him and just,
And if you didn't know who he was going into the film, if you didn't know that singer, he's just kind of a background character.
Oh yeah, yeah. When I looked him up, I went, oh yeah, that's his.
And suddenly there's this scene that's so critical to the movie.
Fantastic.
From this, and they give this guy basically one scene, and he's a background actor otherwise. And I don't know how much acting he has done prior. I guess he's done some, but he really pulled it off well.
Oh, fancy electronics. Okay.
So again, thoroughly enjoyed the film. Unfortunately, what's portrayed in this film is still legal in 36 states, I think, and that's a real tragedy. And hopefully, this film will help change some hearts and minds.
You know that I really do. With Joel Edgerton again, he gets to star. He's in the film, and he gets to star as his role is that he's in charge of the school or the camp, and so he's not playing the likable character, which I really enjoyed. It's a tough character, and of course there's some revelations that later on happen that were off screen, which I really would have loved to have seen more of. But I loved that I couldn't help but laugh, and I know that's not a funny situation, but when they were teaching, I still think it's funny when they're teaching the boys how to stand, how to sit, uncross your legs, how to hit a ball, and I thought, oh my God.
Yeah, I was sitting there cross-legged watching that film.
And I was thinking, this is what makes you more masculine. This is what makes you more straight. You can hit a ball.
Right.
Yeah. I thought that was too funny.
Funny and tragic film.
Yes. Okay, so we're going to move on to our next film, which is a new film titled Beautiful Boy. Let's take a look at the clip. All right, so the clip you just saw was for Beautiful Boy. This stars Steve Carell as a father, as well as who's married to Mira Tierney, who is one of my favorite actresses, totally underused. And he has a family. His teenage son, who's now gone off to college, gets involved in drugs and then develops a very bad drug habit. It's actually based on a true story, based on 2 books, actually, that both of them had written. And it's a tragic story. It's very, very sad. And to watch someone go through drug addiction here at Film Snobs, if you're watching this show, you've seen lots of movies. We've seen this done 100 million times. But this time, we see it from the family's perspective, and that's what I really enjoyed about this film. This was not just going to be following, Timothée Chalamet, who's a great actor. He's a young actor, and I thought this was going to be the movie where he's going to go off the rails and be able to do this drug thing and, Sean Penn it up. And it's not. It's Steve Carell who gets to be the center of the storm and seeing how it affects the family and the different things that they're doing. It's very well written. It's very well made. It's the director Felix Van Groeningen, who did the Broken Club, which is a movie I actually have heard of, and it's a really good film. And I went in there with kind of low expectations, even though I had good stuff about it. I thought, gosh, I've seen this done 100 times, but it was really, really good.
It's a very powerful film. It is a hard film to watch. It is unrelentingly difficult to watch, and I think anyone going to it should go in prepared for that. But the performances in this film are absolutely phenomenal. And, starting with Steve Carell, who we all know as a comic actor from The Daily Show and 40-Year-Old Virgin and all that, really proves his acting chops here in a remarkable performance. I went in similarly thinking I'm going in to see this vehicle for Timothée Chalamet, and it was his, and I'll come to his performance too, but I mean, Steve Carell, it's kind of interesting to hold your own against a younger actor, but we have this very well-respected young actor against a comic actor playing it opposite, and Steve Carell not only held his own, but held that film. It's really anchored in a reality and an inner struggle that is really unique, and I enjoyed it as much as you can enjoy something like this.
Yeah.
And the choices he made throughout the film that were so tough, and sometimes so wrong or so questionable in an effort to save his son, and then making decisions that he didn't want to make of tough love, to find too simple a term to it, but. And then his own kind of experimentation, which was really in the middle of the film and hard to understand. Yep. I've had a friend in my life destroy his life with methamphetamine. And it was, this film portrays that downward spiral more accurately than anything I've seen. And yet I keep coming back to the father. And he reminds me so much of the father of another friend of mine who struggles with addiction. I mean, this was like that man on film. So real, so difficult to watch, and yet so powerful.
Well, you know, I like the fact that his character, you know, he's a reporter and did a lot of writing, and so he uses his best tools and skills, and so he just goes right into it, just immediately starts investigating and does investigating and learns about it, and in fact at one point in time does it and uses the drug, which I thought was really brave to do, and especially with going on and a little odd, but I could understand him just trying to figure this out, and he was trying to use his brain and work around this problem, this situation that he was having to try and fix this, because you know, it's his beautiful boy. He's his son. He loves his son more than, you know, than anything with his family, and is trying to do everything he can to fix, you know, as parents want to do. They want to fix things. And so I really appreciated that, and I thought that was very bold. I'm assuming, of course, that happened in real life, right. And since it's based on the 2 books. And I thought that was really smart of them to leave that in the film and show him just trying to do what he can, because usually it's just the people that are throwing money at it, the people that are crying, the people that are trying to tell him, you know, not to do this. And so we get to see him actually, you know, really thinking his way through this. Whenever his son does something horrible, I mean, it's so painful. Yeah. It's so painful. It's so hard. It is a tough film to watch, but it's certainly one you'll appreciate because I think it's so well made. And I will say this, when an ending is coming, I'm thinking, it's going to be this, it's going to be this, it's going to be this. And you really start leading. And so it's kind of a surprising ending, because I thought for sure it was like, oh yeah, this is what's going to happen. Right. And here's the scene, and here's the Oscar scene.
Yeah. Again, Timothée Chalamet, and you know, we've seen the first 2 films we reviewed today are 2 of our finest young actors today, and that we'll see for many years to come. And they were together in Lady Bird.
Yes, they've actually fight for a lot of roles, and they've lost out to the other one, a lost going back and forth.
Both amazing performances.
Fantastic.
All right, so moving on. Our next film is 2004's Tropical Malady. Tropical Malady was directed by Apichatpong, Weerasethakul, and it is a it's kind of 2 films in one. But it is the first half of the film is a love story between a Thai soldier and a farm hand that or farm boy, I guess. That meet and have a romance and a kind of traditional love story. And at just about halfway through the film, when they're about to arguably consummate their relationship, the farm boy disappears into the woods, never to be seen again. Kind of hard cut to later, sometime later. And the soldier is searching for the boy in the wood, or in the jungle, the Thai jungle, where he has apparently been told by villagers that the boy is perhaps a shapeshifter and has a more spiritual, deeper meaning. So the second half of the film is that search and the encounters as he tries to find his lost love. This was an interesting and challenging film. Technically, it was difficult because the picture quality and sound quality was pretty bad, even as a Criterion Collection edition, which was interesting. It really felt disconnected to me. The first half and the second, there's this gap where it's just like later, you know, like, what about the loss? What about the pain? What about the family who wonders where the son disappeared? It's just we have to intuit kind of what's going on in the second half of the film. Yeah. And there isn't. I didn't feel a lot of heart in that soldier, in his reaction to what's going on. It was just this kind of obsessive journey as he tracks this shapeshifter through the woods that may or may not be his lost love. An interesting film, certainly. I enjoyed the first hour a lot more than the second, and the last scene they had together was wonderful. And then you're like, it was so interesting. I'm not sure that I mean, it has won a lot of awards, and part of it may be some lost to cultural differences or whatever, maybe not understanding the mythology that's the backbone of the second part of the story. But I wanted to like the film more than I did.
You know, this is kind of like A Star is Born. You really like that first half, and the second half I was like, meh. It does feel like 2 films kind of put pushed together, and there is a little bit of a gap there in terms of what everyone else is feeling, and I was kind of concerned that, I mean, I understood the connection because I really enjoyed that first half. There was a great connection between the two. It isn't just something that automatically happens. It's kind of played with a little bit back and forth and it's kind of teasing back and forth, and so it was a nice little relationship there, and I really enjoyed that. Yeah, but you're kind of missing that. I'm he's sad that he's disappeared, but it's just all of a sudden he just goes out and marching into the jungle, which I understand, because when you have a lost love, that you would want to go out there and just try to make things better. But yeah, it does feel a little disconjoined. I like the premise, but that second half did go a little long. There was at one point in time you did have to nudge me, because it might have been the second film we were watching that evening, and I might have dozed off just a little bit, because that happens sometimes. As I get older, it happens a little bit more often, and but I did like it. I was really surprised though by the quality of it. I mean, that happens sometimes, but with Criterion, you usually kind of expect a little bit better, especially since it's not that old,
right?
But we don't know what kind of negative and what type of situation those type of things happen. So that kind of happens. Sure. But I really, I appreciated taking a twist and doing that and being very artistic and very Fellini-esque toward the second half of there. But the first half I enjoyed so much because of that relationship. Right. And it was just kind of one of those things that just kind of took its time. It just happened in conversations, a little touch here, bump there, and just kind of playful back and forth, and people in between saying things, and I really enjoyed that.
Surprising reactions of the villagers, where we might have stereotypes about how that culture might respond.
Yeah.
I thought it was really
people
interesting.
Are kind of matter of fact, sure.
We should move on.
Okay.
Our next film is Madame Bovary, Madame Bovary, the 1949 version. And I say that because as I was researching this film and wanting to find it to watch, there are no less than 13 films.
It sure is.
Of this story. And it's based on a book written in 1857 by the same name. A very controversial book at the time because it showed a character who lied, cheated, had affairs, stole, everything else, but that was the heroine of the book. And so it was very controversial when it was written. The film takes that story and kind of bookends it with the trial. I don't know if there really was a trial, but the trial of the author who's being prosecuted for, publishing indecent material. The film basically follows the story of a young woman who is from a poor family, who sees her opportunity for love and success by marrying the town doctor. As that relationship develops, she finds she's disappointed by it. Not enough money, not enough romance. She pursues other suitors. She overextends debt. She makes all sorts of bad decisions. And in the end, as if this was a movie made in the days of the Code, she dies. That's maybe a spoiler, but it does. She is punished for it, a la the Code.
Yeah.
It's an interesting film by today's standards. It certainly shows us where we have come as a society for what is deemed socially appropriate as storytelling.
But okay, so the first thing is with the film is James Mason coming in there, and he's on trial, and he's explaining why these things have happened to her character, and it kind of bookends the movie, and it's completely unnecessary. Just cut those off. Yeah. Not needed.
Just a vehicle to get him in the film.
What I find was really interesting was that people with Instagram today. Oh God, I'm going to be Angela for the show, aren't I? All right, so the people with Instagram and all of the Kardashians and looking at things and saying they want this and they want to have this, and they could if you do this then you would get this, and that's what she's doing. She kind of romanticizes that she's marrying a doctor. Well, it's a country doctor. It's not going to be the life that she's wanting, and so she sees it in these other people. The best scene in the whole film is when they go to this dance. And okay, so Vincent Minnelli knows what he's doing. Yeah. He's a great director. I think he's really underrated. He's done American in Paris. He's done a lot of great films, and Bandwagon, worked with a lot of great actors and dancers. And so they have this. She wears this her outfits are ridiculously amazing, absolutely amazing. You can see why they go into debt. She goes to this dance and she gets swept up with this other gentleman who becomes one of her suitors, and who is the villain in Octopussy. It was him. And they're dancing, and the camera just swirls until she's out of breath. She says she's out of breath. They throw chairs to the windows so the lady can breathe. I mean, just this extravagant, decadent, and she looks over in a mirror and she sees all these men around her, and she's like, yeah, this is it.
This is my life.
This is what I want.
Yeah, and I read that
it just gets you swept up into it. I loved that moment.
So I read
fantastic.
that Vincente Minnelli was strapped for cash making the film. He had gone way over budget in his previous film, and he was afraid he was going to lose all of his director's cred, and so he pinched pennies through the whole film except in that scene.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Clearly, the acting style is is a little bit 1949. It's a little melodramatic.
Yeah.
So I think anytime you watch a film from 1949, you need to go in with that kind of expectation. You're watching through the lens of a different time and place. But certainly an enjoyable and tragic story.
Yeah, I really like Jennifer Jones, and I really like her. There are some times where it's
Yeah.
you know, and her hands up on her forehead. But at other times when there are very serious scenes, she really pulls it together and really does a great job. And I thought hers was fantastic.
Her final scene, we talked about it at the time, but they did execute. She executed that very well, better than it would often be done today.
Oh yeah. No, what she did was. That was a rough scene, and yeah, but it's beautiful looking. It's a black and white film. Yeah, if you love costume designs and the whirly of the dancing, I love that stuff.
Yes, I could tell.
So we'll move on next to another film. This was directed by Morton DaCosta, who actually did The Music Man, but he did do a fine job with Auntie Mame. Not the Lucille Ball one. This is the one that has Rosalind Russell, one of the best fast talkers in film history, and one of my all-time favorites from His Girl Friday. And she stars as Auntie Mame, a young boy. Her nephew is brought into her care after the death of his parents, and so then she becomes his caregiver. And we get to see his life. In this big, huge, amazing apartment with with a fantastic costume design again and set design that changes through the years as we see as we see him get older. We see the house change, we see her outfits change, and she, of course, is a socialite. She knows everybody.
Quite
She's
a free
able
spirit.
to very much so free spirit, and you get to see this amazing opulent life through his eyes, and with her actions. I was really surprised by how much I loved this film and how much this one really blew me away. Even though it was done like in stage direction where the scene ends and then the iris closes right up on her face, and then we move on to the next scene. This movie is very long, but it flew by for me. I absolutely was I think loved
part of the
this
reason
movie.
part of the reason it flowed so long and yet it held our attention was there was a long span of time covered, and there was a lot of change throughout, not only of the age of the boy, of course, but in just the set design of the apartment. Every time they're kind of the bookmarks,
so fantastic.
The chapter marks of the movie were start with the chandelier and then show the apartment, right, and everything that had changed. So it was lovely to watch. She certainly reminded me of Lucille Ball, so it's interesting that she did a version of the film. I wasn't aware.
Yeah, there was a film in the 70s.
So
this has
totally
been done over a lot.
Totally makes sense. But there were, again, when we talk about changing sensibilities, it was pretty interesting. There was one part of the film that was just made me cringe, and that was when the boy first arrives. He's supposed to go off to boarding school, but she wants to send him to a more laissez-faire school run by one of her friends.
Yes.
And at one point, the boy asks the teacher, what, do I have to wear a uniform? He says, oh, no, you don't have to wear anything at all. And you just think it's kind of a joke. And then flash forward a few minutes into the film when the caretaker from the bank who's supposed to be making sure he's being raised properly goes to visit him at this school, and apparently the kids are all naked, boys and girls, and the parents are all naked, and they're playing doctor, and this is like played for humor, and I'm like, yeah,
okay.
A little bit of pedophilia humor here. I mean, it was really weird, and that I guess at the time you could play such a thing for a joke, but as you watch that now, it's like, that's kind of a little bit awkward.
That's a bit awkward, yeah.
But all in all, the humor holds up so well with time.
It's such a good movie.
And it's just a fun movie to look at.
Yeah.
It's at a time where color was, first being used widely, and it was such a good use of color and such a good use of set design.
Yeah.
And we don't have time to talk about the whole plot, but there's just also the interesting turns in her life, because she starts off super wealthy and a socialite, and then the stock market crashes, and she loses it all, and she, there's great scenes of her being a clerk at the local department store and stuff. Where
how does she still afford that condo?
Yeah.
I was like, I hope she owns that.
I'm assuming it's old money at that point.
Yeah. I'm like, okay.
But watching her try to navigate normal society is half of the humor of the film as well. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I liked it. There was a little kind of Birdcage-esque feeling to the to the end with the boy coming home with the girl and the parents needing.
We call it La Cage aux Folles on
Yeah,
this show.
we call that too.
La Cage aux Folles. And there's no birdcage on this show.
I'm sorry.
No,
So
no
no
wrong
Nathan
names.
Lane either.
Oh, on the radio, if you could just see the reaction when you said Nathan Lane.
Yes,
Twitch.
yes,
Twitch
Twitch.
evolves. So we both can recommend The Boy Erased.
Oh, absolutely.
As well as Beautiful Boy. Highly recommend, actually, on both of them. We can recommend Tropical Malady.
Malady. I don't know that I go toward recommending.
Oh, you want? Oh,
Nope.
so you may not recommend that one. Okay, so Madame Bovary, we would both recommend.
Yes.
And as well as Auntie Mame.
Absolutely.
All right, cool.
4 out of 5 ain't bad.
There you go. Thank you, and thank you for being on the show as always.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Good, good. Certainly we would like you to like us on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter. You can listen to us on KMUZ. You can watch us on Corvallis and Silverton. Of course, certainly here in Salem. You can visit us at realfilmsnobs.com as well. We want to thank our fantastic sponsors and our wonderful crew, as well as you for watching and listening. So as always, have a great day and great movies.